All right, joining us now for reaction is Florida Congresswoman Cammack joining us live here. Congresswoman, wow, what a news day to get to. And I will talk to you about the push to end the filibuster by this president who has not supported that in the past, by the way, now changing his tune. Before we get to that, breaking news, the everyday American spending 7% more year over year now that we've seen, the highest in almost 40 years. Your reaction to that?
Well, thank you, Sean. And as someone who comes from the working class, my husband's a firefighter. I see it every day in the grocery store, at the gas pump. I see every single day how this administration is failing the American people. When we have historic inflation that is jacking the price of everyday goods and services up, it makes it so that people in everyday walk of life, but particularly the blue collar working class folks, they are getting hit the hardest. And when you look at those on fixed incomes, you see that just last year there was a 5.9 COLA increase. That has now been canceled out by 7% inflation. This is a total failure and a direct result of the lack of leadership coming out of the White House. The Democrats have to own the fact that everyday Americans are barely making it by. Doesn't matter if it's at the grocery store, doesn't matter if it's at the gas pump. If you have kids, if you're on a fixed income, you are hurting because of this administration. And there will be a reckoning in the midterms in November because of this.
And for anyone that's watching, Congresswoman, they may think the priority of this White House would be voting rights. And that's what you're hearing now, the president on board for changing the filibuster rules. He said this yesterday in Georgia to get the voting legislation passed that was drawn up by Democrats. Do you think this bill passes ahead of the midterms? They want to get it done by MLK Day. Your thoughts on getting rid of the filibuster and voting rights being a priority right now?
Well, see, that's the thing. It's a misnomer. There's nothing about this legislation or this push that is about voting rights. This is a voting free-for-all. And this all goes back to the Democrats' plan to keep control of Congress and keep Americans dependent on their socialist agenda. That's all this is about. It is a voting free-for-all because what it does is it forces taxpayers, hardworking people across the country, to finance the campaigns in a 6-to-1 match for people like Ilhan Omar, AOC, Nancy Pelosi. Anytime that they raise $200, they have now put us on the hook to match that 6-to-1. With no voter ID to register or to vote and mandatory mail-out ballots. This is all about making elections crooked, federalizing elections. There's nothing about protecting the integrity of our elections in this legislation, and they're willing to take down the Senate to do it. That's why we need to get on the phones and call senators now.
Last question for you. You respond how you'd like. How does this affect your constituents? Do they support what this president is trying to do in terms of voting legislation or changing the way our elections work?
Well, I come from the great state of Florida, the Freedom Sunshine State, and we got elections right after doing them wrong for a long time. Obviously, we all remember the infamous hanging chads. I'm so proud of the fact that we have a governor and a state legislature that has made election integrity a priority. Everything from making sure that, of course, the safeguards are in place, but making it accessible. And they've done it in a way that's common sense, pragmatic, and thoughtful. From our county supervisor of elections all the way up to our Secretary of State, Laurel Lee, they have made this so that you have all the options on the table in order to cast your ballot in a way that makes sense for you, but also making sure that your vote is counted as you intended to be cast. Florida is a model that the rest of the union should follow.
All right, Congresswoman Cammack joining us of Florida. Congresswoman, thank you for your time.